everyone! Today, let's hook this little lantern together. A very beautiful little lantern. You can hang it in the car. Hang it in the room as a small ornament. Then what about the color of the pig's trotters of this lantern? You can match it according to your liking. And then we made a tassel out of it. Very nice. Let's take a look. We embroidered plum blossoms in this flat embroidery way. Adds a touch of elegance to this lantern. When our lantern is hooked, it starts at the top and the stitch is hooked. So what's next? Let's hook this little lantern together. So take a look. Let's wrap this yarn around our fingers. Then take it off. Lay the yarn with your left hand. Change your left hand and pinch this place. Then the crochet goes in. Thread the crochet through this loop. Wrap the yarn and hook it. And then you crochet it around. Pull this little loop. This is a chain stitch. Then we're going to thread the crochet through the loop. Hook 6 single crochets. The crochet presses the yarn and pulls it over. Then pull the 2 loops together. This is the first single crochet. We marked the first stitch. Look at the stitches. It's a V-shaped shape like this. So we're going to hook single crochet. Crochet in. Then the crochet presses the yarn and pulls it over. Then combine 2 loops into a single loop. Then the 3rd stitch is threaded. The crochet presses the yarn and pulls it over. 3rd stitch. We hooked a total of 6 single crochets in this round. The single crochets are represented by the letter symbol X. Everyone follow me to hook. Let's take a look. 6 single crochets are hooked, corresponding to 6 stitches. What about after the hook is done? And we're going to pull this little yarn tail really tight. The first round is done. We use the spiral hook method. So after each round is hooked, no pull connection required. We went straight to the second hook. What about the second round? We need to hook 6 increases. Let's hook. Well, first of all, hook a single crochet in the first stitch. The increase is positioned horizontally across these 2 yarns. The end of the yarn is hooked horizontally on it. Crochet the thread and pull it over. Hook the first single crochet first. Mark it well. What's next? Threading the crochet through the first stitch. Then hook a single crochet. This is an increase. 1 increase. It is equal to 2 single crochets in each stitch. As for increasing, we will use the letter symbol V to represent it. We then put a stitch through the second stitch. Hook the second stitch. That's 2 single crochets on the hook. The second increase is done. Next, let's put the back for increases inside, all hooked with increases. What about after the second round is hooked? There are 12 single crochets in this round. The second round is done. Then we're going for the third round. We follow the method of 1 single crochet and 1 increase. Repeat the hook 6 times. Let's hook. Thread a stitch through the first stitch. Hook a single crochet. Mark it well. Then thread the crochet into the second stitch. Hook an increase. 1 single crochet and 1 increase. It's a combination. A total of 6 hooks were made. Let's hook the second time. Let's take a look. It was done the second time. Let's hook all the next 4 times. What about after the third round is hooked? There are 18 single crochets in this round. Added 6 stitches. And we learned to look at this crochet diagram. We can see the diagram later. Hook a small part alone. What about the last stitch? It must be 1 increase. Okay, we're done with this third round. Now we go on for the fourth round. 2 single crochets and 1 increase is a group. Repeat the hook 6 times. A stitch is hooked inside the first stitch. Mark it well. Then an increase is hooked inside the second stitch. Here are 2 single crochets. There is an increase hooked inside the third stitch. Let's take a look. The first combination is complete. Next, hook the second combination. 2 single crochets occupy 2 stitches. Then hook an increase. The second set is hooked. How about this method? Hook all the last 4 sets. Everyone follow me to hook. So what about after we hook the 4th round? We need to change the color on the 5th round. So what happens after we hook this 4th round? Cut it directly. The 4th round is hooked. What about after the hook is done? Let's just pull this yarn over. Cut it off. Let's hook again. It's the 5th round. We replaced it with the main body of this lantern, thread of this color. Let's hide this thread tail first. This is where the first stitch is. We threaded the crochet from a position like the second stitch, through it like this. And then you find the last single crochet. The stitch picked its back loop, along with this little loop below. Such a poke through. That's it. This stitch is still 20 for single crochets. Now we're going to do the 5th loop. We will change to this main color yarn. Let's take a look. When the 5th round is hooked, we are picking the back loop of the single crochet. This single loop is also called this outer half stitch. Let's take a look. Just pick this back loop for the stitches. The 5th round, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Hook 20 for single crochets. Hook the yarn and pull it over. End of yarn pressed. First hook a chain stitch, and then you thread the crochet through the stitches. Hook the first single crochet accordingly. Mark the first stitch. Then continue to hook. There is a corresponding stitch in each stitch. The end of the yarn is hooked horizontally on it. Only this 5th round. We hooked the back loop of the stitches. What about the other parts? We all hook like this as normal. After the hook is done. And then look at the diagrams. The round 6 to round 18. Just hook them all. What about round 6? When we were hooking, just through this single crochet normally. Only the 5th round is special. Everyone follow me. Hook until round 18. Everyone, take a look. There are 48 stitches. And so it went all the way to round 18. We continue to hook the round 19. We need to reduce the stitch. Round 19, 6 single crochets and 1 decrease is a group. Repeat hook 6 times. Mark after the first stitch is hooked. First hook 6 separate single crochets. Second stitch, third stitch, fourth stitch, fifth stitch, sixth stitch. 6 single crochets are hooked. Next we hook and decrease. We need to put the 7th and 8th stitches. These 2 stitches are into 1 stitch. First pick up the front loop of the 7th single crochet, this singular loop. Then pick up the front loop of the 8th stitch. Go through at the same time. Crochet the thread through these 2 loops. And then, what about the stitch? This is a decrease. 6 single crochets and 1 decrease. It's a combination. Repeat 6 times. Let's hook for the second time. Okay, hook these 6 single crochets. Next, hook a decrease. Pick up a front loop of the stitch. Pick up another front loop of the stitch. Crochet the thread and pull it over. Then parallel the stitch. It was done the second time. Next, everybody will follow me. Just hook this round 19 well. After round 19, look at the diagrams. Hook round 20 to 23. I put the diagram on the screen, so just follow the diagram to hook. Okay, we've been following the diagram all the way to round 22. We have a total of 24 single crochets. Then lengthen the thread. Cut it. Let's connect this place. The end of the yarn I left short. What if the end of the yarn is longer? We can use the previous suture needle to connect. It's shorter, so we'll hook it up. Pull the knots like this. And there it is, side threading. Just hook the end of the yarn and pull it over. So it's connected. Our log and main body is complete. Finally, there are 24 stitches left. Then we put fiber fill in it and fill it up. Okay, what about after we fill this fiber fill? We need to hook another little piece like this. Let's take a look. Just like we started with brown thread, the piece hooked is the same. Hook for rounds. And finally, 24 single crochets. Then just connect the cable directly. Thread the stitches in the first such position. Hook the yarn and pull it over. Take it to the back and tighten the loop. Just connect it like this. This is the part on top of our lantern. What about after the hook is done? We just need to buckle this piece on it. Connect it with the main body of this lantern. And the number of stitches in the main part of the lantern, it's the same. It's all 24 stitches. Pull the yarn like this. Let's take a look. We connected him like this. We just crochet the stitches one by one. The main body is pierced with a stitch. Put a stitch on this piece. Hook the thread and pull it over and stitch it. The second stitch corresponds to the second stitch. Pull the thread over and stitch. Third stitch. Fourth stitch. How about this method? Just connect this stitch round. The number of stitches we have corresponds exactly, and we'll do it stitch by stitch. Okay, we have connected. What's next? We hook single crochets in each stitch. Hook 24 stitches and hook 2 more rounds. Mark the first stitch. We use spiral hooks. 2 more rounds. We just kept hooking until the end. Extend the yarn. Leave a long tail this time. Let's connect this place with a suture stitch. The position of the first stitch, we skip it. Thread the needle from the position of the second stitch. Find the last single crochet. Through in the back loop of the stitches, coming through like this. Connect like this. Let's take a look, and that completes it. And then we hide the tail of this thread on the inside. Cut the long part directly. This side is done. Let's hook this side too. We left half a stitch behind. Right, take these 24 stitches. We hooked in the back loop of the stitches. Hook this yarn and pull it over. End of yarn pressed. Hook a chain stitch first and thread a stitch through the stitch. You hook up a single crochet. There is a single crochet in each stitch. That's it. And then, just hook the second and third rounds as well. Hook 20 for single crochets. Same as above. Everyone follow me to hook. So let's take a look. The main part of our lantern. That's it. So what about after it's all hooked? Let's embroider it with pink thread. This part of the club. And this location? You can decide according to your personal preference. There are no specific regulations. We use this thinner one. Fix this pink thread. Pull out 3 wires. Thread the stitches from the bottom to the top. What about our plum blossom? It's made up of 5 flower petals. Let's take a look. Let's embroider the first petals first. Occupying 2 rows of such a width is enough. Then repeat the process. Generally, it is enough to embroider 3 2-4 stitches. And continue to embroider a second petal from its side. The method is the same. Let's watch the process. Then the third petal. Fourth petal. Fifth petal. What's next? Let's go from another place. Continue to hook the second plum blossom and the third plum blossom. That's it. Then this location mentioned before. You can decide for yourself. You can refer to it. My position is fine. Everyone follow me. Trim out the other 2 plum blossoms first. 3 plum blossoms have been repaired. You can decide this position for yourself. Okay, after the plum blossom embroidery is done, we use brown thread. Let's embroider the part of this branch. You can also choose according to your preferences. To embroider. Take a look at my embroidery process. That's it. You run the thread through the rest. What about these 3 plum blossoms? Just run it through this branch. We'll use pink thread for him again. What about other places? Sketch him a few flowers. Just come with this plum blossom alone. You can also decide this position yourself. The process is the same as before. And here's a plum blossom. Through to this side. So it's not too monotonous. Embroider another one from here. That's it. And you run it through the rest. Take a look at our plum blossom embroidery. What's next? We're going to use the yellow yarn again. Embroider the flower heart part. Also use a thinner thread to fix it. Through it like this from the center. Let's take a look. Put the needle in this place. Wrap the thread around the stitches like this. And then what about the wounded loop? Get him down like this. Don't worry about this place. So let it all fall for him. Thread the needle through the center. Go through to the next underyarn area. Tidy up this place. Tension. And then I'm going to repeat the process for him. What about winding this loop? It can be wrapped a little looser. You can do it like this. Fixed in this central position. Tighten it like this. Repeat the process. Pierce the yarn through the other parts. That's it. What about the extra thread tail? Cut it directly. What's next? Let's make the part of the pendant above. It's easier to pull a thread. And then what? Repeat that for him. 4 are enough. I like it longer. If you like it short, make it shorter. Then this place above can be used as part of the pendant on this one. Tie this place in a knot. You can knot one more. And then, what do we do below? Pull it like this. Then pull it out. And we right down here. Tie another knot. This way it won't be pulled out. It's fixed in this place. Let's take a look. This pendant can also be pulled. So what's next? Let's make the tassel part. So if you like this tassel longer, what about it? Can you make this thread longer? After folding in half, it is the length of our tassel. Take it. Repeat this back and forth to get a few more. Make this tassel thicker. Let's take a look. And finally, over-round it like this. Use these two wires to tie the middle position. Tie it a few more times and fix it. That's it. Later, put the fringed part. Just do this trimming. So what's next? Wrap the yellow thread around it a few times. Let's take a look. Take the top part first, leaving a loop like this. Then wrap the yellow thread around the place. The loop must be exposed. Entangle to the end. Put this thread again. This goes through the inside of this loop like this. Tighten the bottom wire. The yellow thread tail above can be cut directly. It doesn't come off. And then the bottom wire, cut it too. Okay, our tassel is finished. Then put part of the bottom of the tassel, trim it. Neatly trimmed. Our beautiful little lantern is complete. Take a look. It's very beautiful. Today our tutorial will end here. Thanks for your watching. See you in the next video.